Hello and welcome to the Bell Mama Hypnobirthing and Positive Birth podcast. My name is Ellie Waddington. I'm a hypnobirthing teacher, antenatal instructor and positive birth coach, and I'm here to help you go into the birth of your baby with a positive mindset. Every week I share my top tips, advice and amazing birth stories to help you go from fearful and anxious about your birth to positive and confident. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and let's get into this episode. Hi everybody and welcome back to another episode of the podcast. This week we are continuing our conversation about home birth. If you haven't already listened to part 1, do go back and have a little listen to that before you listen to this episode. Basically, I'm just here sharing all the ins and outs of home birth and answering all of your questions. Home birth is something that I'm really passionate about. I had my own home birth with my second baby, Annabelle, and it was the most empowering, beautiful, calm, amazing experience of my life. And I take the opportunity to talk about it whenever I can. But that being said, my aim is not to try and convert everyone into having a home birth. My aim is for everybody to see home birth as a safe, viable option, which it absolutely is. For the majority of women, giving birth at home is actually the safer option for them. Particularly if you are passionate about having a natural birth, that is so much more likely to happen if you're planning to birth at home. So if you're curious about home birth, planning a home birth, or anything in between, this series of episodes is for you. So the first topic that we're going to talk about is birth pools. Now specifically the question I got asked was, do I have to have a birth pool? If I birth at home, do I have to hire or buy myself a birth pool? And the answer to that is no. You can absolutely land birth if you want to. You could birth on your bed, put some waterproof sheets down or a tarpaulin on your bed to protect the mattress and you could birth on your bed. You could put some sheets down on your living room carpet and just birth on the floor in your living room. You could birth in the bottom of your shower. You could put some towels down the bottom of your shower, and that's an option to you. You could birth anywhere in your house that you like, really. I mean, it's your birth. And if you don't want to birth in a birth pool, you can birth wherever you want in your house. Lots of people do have birth pools at their home birth. You tend to see the birth pools in the home birth videos on YouTube and on Instagram because, they're a great source of comfort. They're a really amazing form of natural pain relief. So you do tend to see them, but they're absolutely not a must. They're not necessary if you don't want to. One of the reasons that people might not want a birth pool is because they can be quite expensive. You can either buy them or you can hire them. And some people's budget just doesn't stretch to that, and that's absolutely okay. But if that is the reason, and you do want a birth pool, but you just simply think that you can't afford it, do have a look into some of the cheaper options. So you might actually be able to buy a birth pool second hand. If you have a look on some of the home birth Facebook groups or on eBay, sometimes people are selling off second hand birth pools, which means they are a lot more affordable. Sometimes local doulas or your local maternity unit even might lend out their birth pools that they have for free. Not everybody, but some of them do lend them out for free, so have a look into that as well. Now, if your budget does stretch to having a birth pool, you can, again, buy second hand if that's what you want to do, and then just sell it on again afterwards. You can buy brand new and then sell it on again afterwards. Brand new, they tend to cost somewhere between £100 and £250, depending on the brand and where you're buying it from. Always make sure that you are buying it from a reputable seller, from a reputable brand. Have a look at their reviews, ask for advice in the home birth Facebook groups, and see who people recommend. And then you can either, once you're done, you can either keep it for your next birth if you're planning on having some more children, or you can sell it on again afterwards. Now, what I did with my home birth, I actually hired a birth pool. So I used a company called Barefoot Birth Pools. I really recommend them. I'll put a link in the description of this episode. Really recommend them. You simply book in the delivery date for when you reach around 37 weeks pregnant. They drop it off and they drop off all the kit. So the liner, the hose pipe, the attachments, absolutely everything that you could possibly need for that. For your home birth, for setting up the pool for your home birth. And then you simply, it comes with a full instruction manual as well, because some of the bits that they deliver are one use, like the liner, for example, and the hose are one use, and you just chuck it away again afterwards. But most of it you just put back in the box afterwards, and they collect it after you've given birth, after you've had your baby. So it's a really, really great way of doing it. I believe I paid £120 for the actual hire of it, and then I also gave a £100 deposit, which I then got back after they'd received it back and they checked that it was all still in good working order. A few words of advice I have is, if you do hire a birth pool, or even if you buy a birth pool, do a test run of it beforehand. You don't necessarily need to fill it up, because every single time you fill it up, you do need to use a new liner, and that can get a little bit expensive if you're kind of chucking away liners each time. But do blow it up so you can see that it definitely works, how much space it's going to take up, how much space you're going to need around the outside of it. Check that it's a comfortable size for you. Most of them are. I mean, I had the mini size. It was the birth pool in a box mini size, and there was plenty of room in that for me. Like you'll see on the pictures that I have on Instagram and on my blog, on my website as well, that there was absolutely plenty of room in that mini size for me. The regular size is much bigger, and that's usually for if you think you're going to want your birth partner in the pool with you, if they're going to want to be holding you or catching the baby or what have you. But the mini size is more than enough room for one person usually. So you just want to be checking that fits in the space that you've allotted for your birth, and also check that all the fittings fit to your taps or wherever it is that you're going to be filling up your birth pool from. Check that the hose and the attachments all fit, basically, because you don't want to be in the moment and discover that you don't have the right attachment and have to run out to B&Q and go and get the right attachment for your tap. So check that everything fits, check that everything is in working order, check that everything is there, check that all the bits that you need are there beforehand, and then you know that you're all sorted. Now, the next question that I've got is there much mess to clean up? Yeah, I can understand why you might be concerned about the mess. Obviously, if you go and you birth in a hospital, someone else is responsible for tidying up that mess. You don't really have to do anything. So fair enough, you might have a little bit of a concern about any of the mess that comes with birth at home and who has to tidy that up. But I can only speak about my own experience of my own home birth. There really wasn't that much mess to tidy up. So the big thing was emptying the birth pool and putting that back in the box at the end of it. And so it comes with a pump with a hose, and basically my husband just ran the hose out the window into the outside drain and just pumped everything down the drain. That was all really straightforward. Then he just chucked the liner away and packed up the pool back, put it all back in the box according to the instructions, and that was really straightforward. But everything else, I mean, there really wasn't that much mess. I mean, I think I dripped maybe a little bit of blood on the way to the bathroom after, this was hours later, because I got out the birth pool, I sat on the sofa for a bit, and then a few hours later I went to the bathroom to have a wee and to have a wash and get myself tidied up. I dripped a little bit of blood on the kitchen floor, on the tiles, but really it was nothing to write home about. It was nothing drastic. It didn't look like a murder had taken place there or anything. So what we prepared ahead of time was we put loads of shower curtains, like we bought loads of really cheap shower curtains off Amazon, and we put them on the sofa, we put them around the edge of the pool. So just so that any kind of blood or any waters, anything from me was contained, basically. It wasn't going to ruin the sofa or the carpet or anything like that. We had a tarpaulin underneath the birth pool so that any water dripping as I was getting in and out of the birth pool, that was contained. It was all really straightforward. There really wasn't that much mess. And of course I had NHS home birth midwives attending, and so they dealt with the placenta and all of that side of things. So really there really wasn't much mess. I mean, I can't speak for anyone else. If there's anyone else that wants to get in touch that had a home birth that found it was a lot of mess for them to tidy up, do get in touch and tell me your experiences. But from my experience, there really wasn't that much to tidy up. So that's that question. The next question I have is, what essential items would you recommend getting? What would you have around about for a home birth? That's a really good question. So I already covered a minute ago waterproof sheets, shower curtains, anything that you can put down to protect your sofa or your bed, wherever it is that you're planning to birth. You can also buy like those medical kind of like puppy pad type things. I can't remember what they're called, like medical sheets. I don't know what they're called, but anyway, you can buy packs of them, packs of 5, and you can have those put on your sofa, your bed, wherever it is you're birthing. So that's a really good thing. It's just something to protect your home, essentially, your sofa, your carpet, whatever. The next thing is towels. Have loads and loads of towels ready to go. You need towels for, for you, for baby, for mopping up water, for, blood, anything like that. Having loads and loads of towels ready to go in a stack nearby is a really, really good thing to have. The next essential thing for me personally was having snacks and sweets ready to go. So I had little bowls of like Haribo, like gummy bears, dotted around the living room, because as I was labouring, I was kind of just walking around the living room, bouncing on the ball for a bit, leaning on the back of the sofa, and I just had bowls of Haribo dotted around so that I could just grab a couple and put them in my mouth and just keep my energy up. So I really recommend something easy that you can just put in your mouth, like sweets or like little energy balls. I know that some people do get really hungry during labour, and I do know of a few people that literally have had like full-on meals and sandwiches during labour. If that's what your body is telling you to do, go for it. There is no reason that you shouldn't eat during labour. It's quite an outdated view to be told that you can't eat during labour. If your body is telling you that you need food, absolutely listen to that instinct and keep yourself full of energy, keep yourself hydrated as well. So snacks and water are an absolute must. And yeah, I just think that those are really the only 3 kind of things that I would consider to be absolutely essential for a home birth, is stuff to protect your furniture, towels, and stuff to keep up your energy. Everything else is kind of optional. Everything else is a personal preference. You can have nice fairy lights and affirmations to decorate your birth space and turn it into a nice nest. You can have music, you can have aromatherapy, whatever anchors that you've been setting and kind of conditioning your brain to relax to during your pregnancy, have those around about. Everything is optional basically, aside from those 3 essentials that I mentioned. And the final question that I have is, can I have my older children there? And that's a really, really good question. Lots of people going into home births they tend to be 2nd time or 3rd time parents, because they might have had a negative experience with their first hospital birth, or perhaps they think that this time it's a safer option for them. So they decide to birth at home for their 2nd or 3rd or what have you. So they may have older children. Now, I am a firm believer that birth is not a medical event. It's not something that should be hidden away, that we shouldn't mention. It's something that children should be involved in. I do think it's a family event. Now, my son, at my home birth, my son, he was 3. So he wasn't there for the whole thing. I absolutely would have had him there if he wanted to, but he got quite bored quite easily. So he was just pottering around in the garden with my mother-in-law. They were actually planting potatoes, I think. And he was doing some baking in the kitchen with her. But he came, as soon as I'd given birth, he came straight in and met his baby sister when we were still in the pool. And he met her and cuddled her and kissed her straight away. So he still saw me in that state of having just given birth. And I actually think that's really important for older siblings to be involved in that process, rather than just, mummy disappearing off to the hospital and coming back a couple of days later with a new family member. I think that can be a little bit disorientating for younger children. So for me, if it's an option for you, I really do recommend having the older siblings in the room, in the home, around about, and seeing what the birth process entails. Now, of course, this is all well and good, but if you don't have anyone to actually take responsibility for them in that environment, that can be a little bit of a problem. You need your birth partner there supporting you and doing whatever you need them to do. And so they need to be free to do that. It's not necessarily a good idea to have them responsible for the other children. Obviously it's completely up to you. If you do just want it to be your family there present, if you do just want it to be your birth partner and your children there present, then that's absolutely your choice. But I know that from my experience and other people's experiences, it does make things a little bit easier if you can have another family member there that can take responsibility for the children if you are having them present. Lots of people do find that for them the easier option is for a family member to actually come and pick up the children and take them away for the day or away for the night, so that you can then just completely focus on the task at hand, which is birthing your baby. But there is, if you do want your older children there, the siblings there is absolutely no reason that they can't be there, that they can't experience the wonders of giving birth. There's absolutely no reason for that. And actually having, depending on your children, obviously I've never met your children, but they might actually boost the oxytocin in the environment for you. If they're a joy to have around, if you really love them and they're making that environment nice and calm, then they might actually boost that oxytocin for you. I appreciate that some people's children may actually just cause them a lot more stress. They might just be bouncing on the sofa and causing all sorts of chaos, and that might not be boosting your oxytocin. So do take that into account. Everyone's family situation, everyone's children are all very different. Only you can make that decision about your family and your children. So I think I've come to the end of the questions that I had written down. I hope that I have answered some of the questions that you had about home birth. If you have any more questions, do feel free to get in touch. You can email me, you can contact me through my website, you can contact me on Instagram. I am always available to answer your questions about home birth or anything. If you have questions about any aspect of birth, do get in touch. I am a complete open book. So that's all from me this time. I will speak to you again soon. Bye!